Hey, what's up? It's Rev. Today, jumping over and doing this little Mediterranean cottage on the Arid Ridge lot. I had previously done a build on this lot that I was not the most happy with. I think it had some cool aspects, but I think that this build just fit a little better, and I was more happy with this one being here. So I have removed that one and I've done this one on the lot. This is inspired by another house in Ventura. This one is, like I said before, a Mediterranean cottage. Kind of has that Spanish architecture feel to it. And I just started out by doing all of my blocking for the rooms and then just raising the roof a little bit to make those walls look higher despite being the lowest wall height, and then kind of lay out my front patio here that is from the original inspiration, and then throw in my windows. And one thing that you will see with this build, the real life inspiration kind of has this blue accent that you see throughout the whole house. And for mine here, I have gone with a green accent because there's a nice green swatch on all of these happy birthday windows that they released, and as well as some of the gates and doors from various packs. I think the gate there that I'm using is from the My Wedding Stories, and then this is a base game door on the back. And then I want to say that front door that I use is either Love Struck or maybe Business and Hobbies. And just out here in the back, throwing in a deck. In the backyard is where I did take a lot of creative freedom. Just wasn't gonna be able to translate how the original one is, but that is fine. And honestly, other than the layout, it is mostly just a creative freedom taken for a lot of this design and decoration. But right here, just finishing up with adding all of my windows and doors, kind of trying to figure out how I'm gonna add a small window to these bathrooms, especially since it kind of feels like there's a definite sightline with the low walls. But then I just come out here to the back. This is like the kitchen dining area that I end up throwing a door and a window into on the side right there. So you've got an entrance on both sides of the kitchen and dining, as well as that one right there from the living room. And then just right here, kind of laying out these temporary lights so that I can see what I'm doing. And then I've got these closets, but I end up making this one bigger because it didn't feel right to have the closet for the master bedroom be the little 2x1 and have the secondary bedroom have a larger closet. But then just jumping over and finding a swatch on this Jungle Adventure countertop that I like for the kitchen. Pretty long kitchen here, than the dining just on the side. But I grabbed this smaller dishwasher from the For Rent pack, and then come up here and throw in a couple of cabinets also from the Jungle Adventure to match the lower swatch. And then over here on the other side, you're going to see this is where things take shape with the fridge, and really think about this layout and how I want it to look for a while. Go back and forth with a few things, but end up using this here stove, gas stove. And then this is taken from the original build with the washer and dryer. They are right there in the kitchen. I think it's a little unorthodox, but I think it also really works. There's a trash can over there on the right side of the kitchen counters, where the between of the kitchen and dining table will be, and then a little bookshelf right there. Jumping out here to do the floors and just trying to find that wood swatch that I like. And this is a floor that I ended up using a lot But then for the kitchen, I do that kind of terracotta tile looking thing. And then for the bathroom, I end up using this slate tile in the white swatch that I tend to use for bathrooms a lot. And then I just jump over here and move this gate back because I didn't like how it was sitting on the front face of the house. And then jump back into the kitchen and finish up with adding that vent hood above the stovetop. And then I come out here and add my trim to the roof. But this is where you'll see I end up changing how the roof was, because the original kind of has this Mediterranean thing that you'll see on houses where the corners are higher than the midsections. So I end up lowering those walls in the middle sections, and I do lower the highest wall as well, just by 1 height, to create this kind of raised corner look that I was going for with the build. And right there you can see just lowering those, and then I have to repaint those with the exterior paint that I have chosen, kind of like a concrete wall. And then just jumping in here to the master bath, trying to figure out the layout that I want to do here. This does not translate exactly to the real life house that I was taking inspiration from. The secondary bathroom does, but with the master, I really had to take some time and kind of figure out what I wanted to do as far as layout, with the entrance and the shower being right there. Does just get a single cell shower, but that is fine. The other one is a combination shower bathtub. And then jumping over here into the living room with this sectional using the pieces from Dream Home Decorator. And then right here just throwing a desk in here. If you wanted to, there is that garage over there that I have left basically empty. I did throw the water heater and the electrical panel in there, but maybe if you wanted to turn that into an office or whatever else you could think of to do with that space, maybe a little art studio, anything like that, of course that space is available. But for now, I've just thrown a desk in here in the living room, where I will end up putting a computer, and just trying to keep all of the colors kind of light for the most part, with a lot of the wood tones kind of to match that tone that the kitchen counters have. And then right here, just add this circular dining table, once again from the Jungle Adventure pack, and then a nice chandelier above, as well as a chandelier for that outside entrance area. And then I end up changing the one inside right there to the jungle, the life and death chandelier, just sized down a little bit. And right here, come into the living room and add a ceiling fan, kind of mess around with the lighting for a while. Add this pretty cool chandelier from the high school years pack into the foyer, and then jump back into here and finally figure out the light that I want to use. And then I do these little saucer lightings as well, just around the edges of the room to light it up better. And then right here, I am sizing down the fans. I thought that it was okay to have them a little smaller on this build, because of the low wall height. I typically build in the medium wall height, and for some reason just the full-size fan was kind of making me uncomfortable with the space that I had. Then I jump over here in the kitchen and add these nice backsplashes. Kind of gives that Spanish Mediterranean feel to the kitchen area. And then right here, using this loft sliding door for the garage door. I can't use the one that I typically use because it requires medium wall height. And then I jump into the master bed, throw in this bed from Island Living that has, once again, that green accent. And then you will see this kind of reddish tone of wood come out, mainly for the master bedroom. But I do use a lot of furniture from the island living pack, throwing a couple of these couches out here into this front fenced in area. I'm not sure that they are outdoor furniture, but they kind of look like they would be to me. And I add this ottoman to the end of the bed, using that dresser from Life and Death at the end, I think. And then just jumping back in here, kind of figuring out what I want to do with all of these accent tables. And I kind of mess around with a lot, get rid of a few. The ideas that I have kind of changed throughout decorating this. I don't think interior decoration is my strong suit, but I do think, you know, at the end of the day, I get it done. I end up using this rug from the Jungle Adventure, I believe. I may be mistaken, but that one under the bed does change in swatch. And then I add a little circle from Life and Death under the kitchen table and size down this one in the bathroom just for a little bath mat. Then add this little entrance rug, nice and colorful. Kind of looks nice under that chandelier from the same pack. And then in here, I just added those posts in the corner because that fence gate was actually sticking through the corner of the wall. And then come inside and add some structural beams to mainly the living room and the master bedroom, I believe is where I've left those. Could have done it in the kitchen, but I didn't like how it looked with kind of running into things, especially with the kitchen being not just a squared room, where it gets smaller in that one part. But right here, do end up deleting some of those in the kitchen, I think, and then remove these in the garage as well. Just didn't think that it was necessary to have it in there, and you can see them right now, but you know, when you're in gameplay, of course, you typically don't play with walls fully up, so when you do go half walls in gameplay, those beams will not be showing. They won't be in your face, in your way. But right now, just adding some decoration, little paintings here and there. One above, typically the accent tables, you know, a couple in the master bedroom. And using that new one that they just gave in the base game not too long ago. And this smaller one in the kitchen. Kind of messing with the idea of what I want above this desk. I do end up changing that to a mirror. And then right here, just adding a little bookcase in the living room. A nice little lamp on there. And then I end up adding one standing lamp in here, right between the desk and the couch. You know, so you can use that for either space. Then jumping outside, just throw a grill up there and grab this fire pit and use this couch from the Island Living Pack for a little deck seating. And then I think this chair really kind of meshes with that couch quite well. And then throw those around the fire pit. Now I'm adding my plants, sized down sized up rather, a couple of those in the backyard with the tool mod, just so they don't look like the same exact tree pasted over and over. But jumping here to this front area, it gives it a lot of privacy. This is heavily inspired by the original Real House. I used those kind of banana plant looking tree things, and then some of the elephant ears as well in that space, just to fill the area, make it feel very grown. And then right here on doing my roof decorations, doing something cool here with the skylight, just using a like a globe shape for the window. It's just sized up and it sits inside that platform and sits nice down in the hole. Then I do end up coming over here and adding 3 skylights to the kitchen area, which does make me have to move some of my lighting just a bit. and then I have to move these solar panels that I've placed. I do end up just putting them side by side, and don't worry, I do rotate those eventually before I uploaded it so that they are all facing the same direction. That bugged me when I did notice that I did that. And then jumping out to the backyard again, just adding a little bench here for outdoor eating, and then adding a couple of potted plants here and there, mainly to this front area outdoors, and just one or two inside, maybe on the table or whatnot. Then I add my trash cans. Those do end up moving position, but jump up here to the front, and I just raised that mailbox with the 9 key. I was trying to do a curbside mailbox, but didn't like the look that I was getting, so I just added the wall one onto the fence, once again using the 9 key. Now I'm just cluttering, kind of adding that bowl that I like to. It has a nice green accent, kind of to fit the vibe of the green accent throughout. And then I do an odd pink accent here and there with this one, and just kind of cluttering where, you know, I think it's necessary. Add this drink tray to this little accent table in the living room, and a couple of bottles. Then this is where I push the whole lot back, add in this longer driveway, and then I use these really cool tiles. I believe that might be from Life and Death, but I feel like that's very wrong. But regardless, this front area I really fought with for a long time. I wanted to add privacy since the master bedroom has that window right there on the front, but I was struggling to do that. So what I ended up doing was just adding that hedgerow, and you can see I'm doing my terrain painting just around edges and in these beds, but around the edges with that kind of patchy grass to just add some shadow shading and whatnot. But then what I end up doing is adding a couple of palms from Island Living to each corner, and then I really like the look that gave me instead of the trees that I was fighting with trying to use before. You'll see the bed is done right there, but it really changes because I thought that it looked horrendous how it is right now, with all three of those in the front. But then I jump back here to the backyard and just do a bit of gardening there, and just adding that corner build up. And then I do end up adding just a swing set and like a water slide thing back here, for, you know, any kids that live on the slot. It is a nice little family house, a little Mediterranean cottage in Oasis Springs here on the Arid Ridge lot, and of course it is now on the gallery. Thank you for watching.